introduce Kennan Burch. You've heard some about him, but I met Kennan about 8 months ago. He's a fellow Christian brother. He's got a really neat group that he had formed called Dream Builders here in Orlando. I attended an annual breakfast. About 800 people showed up there for that. But a real inspiring speaker. I want you to take it all in and just hold on to your seats. Here's Ken.
Thank you, Jeff. Ready to have some fun today?
Yeah.
Have some fun. So I need to hear some of your favorite brands. Any kind of brand, any reason. Either like to buy it or like to use it.
Raymond James.
Raymond James brand. You guys got something going on here, right?
Oh yeah, it's a little, yeah, you can see it in the eye contact.
Yeah. So other brands.
Levi jeans.
Levi jeans. Lee Ford. Ford.
I like Masterpiece Design.
Masterpiece Design.
FedEx.
Outback Steakhouse.
Outback Steakhouse. Sorry.
FedEx.
FedEx.
Starbucks. Chick-fil-A.
Starbucks. Chick-fil-A. That one on. Some people mention that. There's anyway, brands are everywhere, right? And so let's talk about branding. But first of all, you might ask, well, who am I? So I'm the founder of Brand Catalyst Partners. Started it in 2008. My vision is inspiring brands to live their highest promise. So any day I get to get up out of bed and I get to present this idea to some folks, it fires me up. Now secretly, it is bringing to life brands that change the world. So that's where I started, but I found that some of my potential clients, as I was talking to them, some of them were saying, look, I'm just trying to survive, I'm trying to make payroll, avoid bankruptcy, I'm just trying to get by. You know, changing the world is like way lofty. So I said, how about if we could inspire your team to live your highest promise? Is that okay? They said, yes. But secretly, if we can do that, maybe we can put it in the universe and change the world in some way, some form or fashion. That's really what gets me excited. So I was with Darden for over 20 years. You probably, if you live in Orlando, you're probably familiar with Darden. Now, they just sold off Red Lobster. But obviously they own Longhorn, Capital Grill, Seasons 52, Bahama Breeze, Eddie V's, a few others. Olive Garden. Oh, yeah. I left it blank there. Did you know this? This is the annual report from 2009, actually. But it says Darden, a brand building company. Aren't they a restaurant company? Well, they're going to buy all four corners of real estate on a specific intersection, and they better make sure that there are four unique, distinct brands. So they consider themselves a brand building company. So while I was there, we would spend over $100 million a year on advertising. Darden spends $450 million a year in advertising. You know, that's actually 5% of their budget. So why would I bring that up? I simply say that to say, I've made more mistakes than most people ever have the opportunity to in marketing because we just had huge budgets. But one thing we got to do is we got to hire some of the best branding agencies in the world. Now, these are not household names. But if you watch the Super Bowl and you watch halftime, you're going to see the work of some of these folks here, okay? Now, my favorite group is the Richards Group out of Dallas, Texas. Founded by a guy named Stan Richards. Now, Stan is 84 years old. This is a picture in his office a couple of years ago. I said, Stan, what's that? And he said, well, you know, our finance guy came to me and he said, you know, our lease is up on our current high-rise, and we'd actually be better off to build our own building because in 15 years we can pay it off, and everything after that's great. So here's a guy that's saying, when I'm 98, we're going to pay it off, and everything else is great. I love that about Stan, but just last year they built it and they moved in to their brand new building. Now, the Richards Group has 750 people that work for Mr. Richards. He's in the Art Director Hall of Fame with Walt Disney. He's not a household name, but you might know him because of things like this. Thank you. The cow campaign. You wouldn't know that, but Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you. Anybody ever heard of Tom Bodett? If you go in the elevator at their new building, you're just Tom Godette telling them what floor you're on. Home Depot, you can do it, we can help. Corona Beer, Finder Beach, Ram Trucks, and about 200 other brands. If you were to ask me what's the most important lesson I learned in all those years, spending all of that money, hiring all those different agencies, I learned something from the Richards Group. So at Red Lobster, back in, I think it was around 2000, we hired the Richards Group. They came to Orlando, and they said, we want to walk you through a process that's going to take a few months. At the end of those few months, we're going to have a 2-day workshop where we get the president of Red Lobster, all vice presidents, and the marketing team in the same room at the same time. So we went out to the Grand Cypress, and we had 56 people in the room. They walked us through this process. At the end of 2 days, we had 1 sheet of paper with our brand strategy defined in the most strategic way I'd ever seen. It was brilliant. And as a matter of fact, everybody got to speak into the process, which was really more brilliant because once you get people speaking into the outcome, that's when they buy into it. So the president stood up and said, this is who we are. He said, I want everybody to sign this, which we did. He said, I want everybody to go back to all your areas and line up all your initiatives against this. If they match, great. If they don't, stop. Every decision that we make will be made based on this filter. Does everybody understand? Yes, sir. So, from that point on, we had this 1 sheet of paper on the desk every meeting. For the first time in the history of the company, all executives had the same decision-making filter. So historically, they almost had to disagree with each other because they're paid a lot of money, and it almost felt like they had to disagree, otherwise they're just rubber stamping it, right? And so historically, we had these great initiatives that by the time you got the approvals at the end, they had changed so many things that it was not optimal. But after this process, all of a sudden we started making great decisions quickly that impacted the restaurants in a very positive way. And over the next 6 years, every metric that we measured went up. Our sales, our guest counts, our customer satisfaction went up. Now, if you were to ask me what the secret of the success was, it was not the $600 million that we spent on the advertising. Because we had spent $600 million the prior 6 years. It was the brilliance of getting everybody on the same page. Now, the Richards Group simply did this process so they could take the 1 sheet of paper, go back to Dallas, Texas, and they could do advertising, right? That's why they did it. But we actually internalized it. And because we internalized it, it made a huge difference in the culture, made a huge difference in the outcome. At the 20-year mark at my career at Darden, I looked in the mirror and I said, am I going to be here another 20 years? We all have those times in life, it's like, where am I going? And so there was a quick answer, no. One way or another, I will not be here another 20 years. So then the question came, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? If I'm not going to work at a Fortune 500 company, Darden, what am I going to do? Man, if I could become an expert at that process and help the smaller guy, the guy who doesn't have a $100 million media budget, they would never hire the Richards Group, but they'd have the benefit of this incredible strategy. That would be a dream. So I got on a plane and I flew to Dallas, Texas, and I met with Stan Richards personally. Now, I had the opportunity to work with him directly on the Red Lobster account. Now, a lot of folks don't get to do that, but I knew who he was. And he gave me an hour of his time, and I expressed what a difference they had made in our lives at Darden. And I said, you know, I'm getting the opportunity to speak at CEO groups. I ran marketing, and I've got a great story. And I've got some great slides, but the truth is, a lot of the material is yours, and I don't want to use it without your permission. So that's why I'm here, Stan, to ask your permission to help your smaller areas. He said, Kennan, we like who you are, and we'd love to see you successful, so the process is yours. My staff is behind you. However we can help you, please let me know. And then he wrote me an incredible quote that I know how to build the organizational conviction to deliver on a brand promise. And so I walked out of there feeling like I was blessed by the Pope in the marketing world, and I started in a brand consulting practice called Brand Catalyst Partner. So that was in 2008, which is not the best time to start, by the way. Let's start a business in 2008, yes. But I survived and I'm here, and yes, I've done this over 75 different times, all different types of companies, from billion-dollar companies to very small nonprofits to retail, business to business, individuals. The concepts are the same. It really does not matter what you're selling. I love to start out, though, with an awareness test. Here's a very simple question. I'm going to show you a sentence. I want you to read through the sentence, and I want you to count the number of F's. They can be uppercase or lowercase, it does not matter. But I do not want you to say anything, so don't reveal the number that you count. Okay? Does everybody understand? Read through the sentence. It's not a trick. Just read the sentence, count the number of F's, uppercase or lowercase. Here we go. Does anyone need to see it again?
Yes.
Okay, if I show it to you twice, there's really no reason why we all can't get the number of F's, right? Really, I mean. So here we go, one more time. Keep the number to yourself. You know, I've done this over 300 times. I've never had a group of people agree. Except for my two children, 10 and 11. Somehow they've had this, but somehow as adults we can't seem to count the number of F's. So here's what we're going to do. Commit to your number. I'm going to call out different numbers, and then when I call out the number that you saw, raise your hand. All right? These are all very honest people, right, Jeff? There's no reason to fight. Just if you saw a certain number. Did anybody count 5 or less? All right? Anybody count 6? 7? 8? 9? Why is that? Can we count them together? All right, let's count them together.
Oh my. Didn't we all had infinite?
Sounds better than English accent. Oh
I've seen this 3 times, I still can't get it.
I haven't even told them to say. There's no trick. Here's the deal. It depends on how you read it to what you see. For many people, OF converts to OV in your mind. You cannot count what you cannot see. Okay? You cannot count what you can't see. Now, I did this one time. There was a PhD in the room. He had 5 PhDs. He could only count 5 Fs. He could not see anymore. So there could be a correlation. The smarter the person, the less number of the Fs. Now, here's the deal. Over time, we learn tricks of the trade on how to gather information quickly, right? So if you read a lot, you're trying to gather information quickly. And so we develop tricks. But the truth is, we don't see the truth anymore. We see the world through our filters, all right? And then, all of a sudden, we don't really see the truth anymore. I'm convinced that people come to work every day, and they argue with each other. They debate things, and they get frustrated. They're not lying to each other. They're not lying. They don't go back to their office and think, well, I really pulled the wool over. It's like, no, they're actually saying what they really saw. But the challenge is they don't see the same thing, because once they see the same thing, the argument stops, right? The friction goes away, and it's just like, let's go. That's how I do my job. My job is to come and ask the right questions in the right way so that we can take the filters off, so that we can all see the same thing, because once we see the same thing, it's let's just go. But not only the same thing, let's see the highest compelling truth. Anybody ask me what's the highest compelling truth about your business? The highest compelling. Let's focus on that. Now, we ask questions. So the first question we might ask is, what is a brand? What is your first thought? Brand is a blank. Logo. Recognition. Identification. Identity. Mind space. Feeling. Now, Do you think it would be helpful if we all had the same definition, right? So let's say I'm going to get together with your team for a couple of days. Are we going to look at pictures? Are we going to draw logos? What does that mean, right? Well, there's one definition that's more useful than others, and that is, yes, brand is a promise. It's like pulling back on a bow and arrow. What's the highest promise that we can make and keep? Now, if you can define a brand as a promise, and your team knows what that promise is, and everything, all effort, energy, is always around making sure we always deliver that promise, then your team will be light years ahead of your competitors who simply believe that a brand is a logo. When people say, hey, we're going to rebrand, 95% of the time, what they're saying to me is we're spending money with an agency to come up with a new logo, new colors, new stuff. Really? That's not bad. But how many of you believe that Starbucks is really, really good because of the look of the mermaid on the cup? Does it really matter? It could have been a different kind of. The amount of money they spent on the mermaid or the colors is not that important in the overall scheme of things. Certainly it becomes an identifier, but if that's where you spend your money, on the logo versus somebody else who's spending money on the depth of the promise, it's really not fair. I'm here to give you a competitive advantage. Is that okay? Brand is a promise. What is my promise? My promise is to create inspirational alignment and organizational conviction to deliver on your highest compelling truth. Now, those are not marketing words. Those are not really branding words. But over the years, I have found if I can do this, your best days are ahead. Right? Sure, and then we can come up with a logo. We can do that too. But this really is the secret to actually bringing to life a brand that has the possibility to change the world. Okay? What is a contagious brand? It's one that naturally grows without a strong need for advertising. Now, at Garden we spend a lot of money in advertising, right? But I thought to myself, if I was creating a new restaurant, it would be great to create it in such a way that it does not need advertising. Like Seasons 52. They don't need advertising, right? A lot of times great restaurants don't need advertising. They're just word of mouth, right? So as a business, I'd love to help people create contagious brands or ones that naturally grow without a strong need for advertising. All right. Now, the process. The Richards Group, 35 years in existence, helping hundreds of Fortune 500 brands. What is their specific process? What is their secret? I'm about to reveal that. Okay? It's built from the inside out. First of all, there's a vision, then there's a promise, a personality, and a raving fan identity. I realize that those don't mean much right now, but let's take it one step at a time and make sure that we build it from the inside out, one step at a time. What's the highest calling of the brand? Well, that's the brand vision. Why do we answer this question? We want to see the headlines 20 years from now. That's the highest thing that can be said. Is your team aligned on what that is? That 20 years from now, if we work together as a team, this is what we want to have. Yes. It should help guide strategy decisions. It should help direct resource allocation and growth. You got limited resources, you got budgets. The question is, how are you going to carve out your budget to make sure that you deliver on your highest compelling truth? But the most important one, if I could jump up and down on this table, I would say the most important thing is that your vision needs to inspire, to breathe life into your team. So they're not coming for a paycheck. They're coming to somehow put a dent in the universe with a team of people. They want to do something special. They don't want to just feel like, man, I'm just spinning on wheels. Sure, I make a decent living, but you know, I have to go home to figure out something else to actually make me come alive, right? What if they actually came alive at your office? So that we go through this process, and a year from now, if I walk in and I ask the assistant at the desk, what's the vision of the place? And with a tear in her eye, she says, I'm coming because of blank. Now, most times, Organizations, executive team will go off to a retreat and they'll do their mission, vision, values. They do an exercise. They have a great time. They come back. They have a binder of stuff. They put it on the shelf, and they might actually put some of it on the break room wall. But the question is, 6 months from then, if I ask, what's the vision of the place? Do people actually express it with a tear in their eye and goosebumps, or do they say, you know, it's on the break room wall somewhere, come on down, we'll actually read it together? There's a huge difference, right? There is a huge difference behind, you know, whatever you want to call this stuff, we need some words that engage the heart to get people up out of bed to do something special. We're just simply calling it the brand vision. It's clear and simple language to be used internally and externally. A few examples. Disney, keeping alive the magic of childhood. Very simple, however brilliant. Should we build this kind of theme park or this kind of theme park? What's the question? Which one better keeps alive the magic of childhood? This kind of movie or this kind of movie? These kind of characters or these kind of characters? This kind of cruise, this kind of cruise. If everybody in the entire organization is actually making decisions based on that filter, you're more likely to come up with something special at the end, and all on the same page. Uncle Matt's Organic, fueling families with uncompromised organic nutrition. They're right here, Central Florida, Claremont. Brand Catalyst Partners, inspiring brands to live their highest promise. That's why I'm here. That's what gets me out of bed. Next is the brand promise that has 3 parts to it. First of all, there is a target audience. Then there's a category. What are we? There's a third part. There's the most compelling benefit. We're going to come up with a sentence. To a certain group of people, my company is the blank that uniquely blank. The stronger that we can identify each one of these, the stronger the brand is going to be. Certainly stronger than simply developing a logo. First of all, the target. Who is our target? For purposes of this exercise, we want to define our raving fans. If you think about a target, we're going to look at the bullseye. Who is the center of that bullseye? We're going to identify who they are, and we're going to make a promise to that group of people. And we're going to make a promise to them in such a way that they say, where have you been all my life? Thank you. Somebody finally gets me. I get it. So you develop a very strong relationship with the group of people. They're so happy that they begin to talk about it. They've never seen anybody like it, right? So you start with those people. Who is it that loves us the most? Separate good prospects from unlikely ones. We want to consider the needs, motivations, and concerns that we can address in their lives. We want to be brief, simple, and imaginative. We want to, in a sense, bring this target to life. Now I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you some target audiences that you would never see publicly, all right? So remember, this strategy is a private document, all right? You don't ever publish this document to the outside world. This is for strategy purposes, okay? So, who is the target of Hummer? To affluent men seeking unique experiences as a means of self-expression. Would you ever see that publicly? However,
I don't know gas.
let's just say that you're the CEO and you've got to sell this thing. You've got limited resources. First question, is it a man car or a woman car? Well, it's kind of a man car, came from the armed services. What else do we know? It's expensive, right? Gotta have a lot of money. What else do we know? Well, when it shows up, it kind of like it blinks, it doesn't hide, you know? So why don't we pick affluent guys who want to uniquely express themselves, right? You make all decisions based on this group. What colors should they be? What kind of technology should we put in? What type of commercials should we create? All decisions made with this group in mind. Now then the question is, did they sell them to women too? The answer is yes, but not because they targeted women, okay? What you're trying to do is create a magnetic group of people that somehow bring everybody else with them, all right? So we have to start in the middle. Chick-fil-A to choosy people in a hurry. What Chick-fil-A wants, if it's lunchtime, you consider yourself a choosy person. They want you to pass McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. Pull into Chick-fil-A and feel like, I'm at my kind of place. Now, would a choosy person choose this kind of food on the menu? It's more expensive than those other places, but guess what? It's okay, because you're a choosy person. Now, they hook up their bank account to your choosing. That's brilliant, right? What if you could hook up your client's bank account to their choosing, right? Isn't that a brilliant strategy? That's really what brand strategy does. It helps you have an identity and a feeling so that people actually pay more and smile. Yes. Isn't that great? Pay more and smile. Oh, one other thing. These people in a hurry, so they will never do anything that will slow down the drive-thru line. No food service, anything. It could be the best tasting new chicken sandwich, but if it slows down the drive-thru line, guess what? That is not the right answer, right? Because we know who they are, and we got to get them in and out quick. As a matter of fact, we're going to invest in new technology so that we can actually have iPads out in the parking lot, so that we can just get that thing going as fast as possible. And a lot of times I'll sit at Burger King because I like Whoppers actually, but I'm sitting in line waiting for my Whopper. And I will say I'm sitting number 2 in line, it's 10 minutes, right? Meanwhile, looking across the street, Chick-fil-A's gone around 10 times. It's like, come on, can't anybody else understand? It's just a simple concept. Please, let's go faster. Uncle Matt's Organic, to highly educated soccer moms with discretionary income. If you go to Publix, you'll see Tropicana orange juice for $3.75. Right next to Uncle Matt's Organic, that is $7.68. It's almost twice as expensive for the same amount of orange juice. So who is it that's going to buy it, take it home, love it, come back buy it? It's primarily moms, right? They have multiple children who've educated themselves enough to read labels, and they know what's not supposed to be in there. So they're reading labels. Guess what? They also have to have discretionary income. If they don't have discretionary income, they're never going to buy it, love it, buy it again. So in our strategy section with Uncle Matt's, they began to feel sorry for some folks who couldn't afford it. It's like, well, we want to sell to we love our orange juice, we want everybody to love it, right? But the truth is, you can't just keep giving coupons to people so they will buy it. The only time they ever buy it is with a coupon. And if you're not making any money when you do that. So unfortunately, you have to say bye-bye to those who can't afford it. As much as you want everybody to love your product, what you have to do is sell it for something that you can actually make a living. To be successful, you have to charge this amount of money, and there's only a certain group of people that can do that. So you need to focus on them. And now if you want to be incredibly successful and be charitable, so that you can give away some money or give away some orange juice, then by all means, please do that. But you'll never be successful if you're trying to please everyone. Okay? Next, the category. What is the brand one of? What name do consumers use to describe the category in which you compete? It used to be, what section of the yellow pages are you in? You realize you used to start a business and you'd have to call up your local yellow page rep on your dial, your rotary phone, and say, please add nightlife pediatrics to, medical services. Now what Google phrase do you want to own? You can be anything you want to be. You are no longer restricted by the yellow page police. Okay? Or what's your blue ocean? Some Harvard professors wrote a book a few years ago called The Blue Ocean Strategy, and they looked at 10 companies that had exponential growth. All of them took what they called the blue ocean strategy as opposed to a red bloody ocean. A red bloody ocean is where the sharks are feeding in the same area for the same food. And it's really competitive, right? Occasionally a company will come along and say, you know something, I'm not going to fight that way. I'm going to create something new and different, and I'm going to change the rules. like Southwest Airlines. Now, when they first came out, this was unheard of. No assigned seats, no first class, no food. We're going to be low cost and we're going to have fun. You want us? That's us, but we're not even going to put our fares online with anybody else. We're over here. You want us? That's us. Did they win? Absolutely. They created a new category. If you can change the rules in such a way so that consumers really like it, then you can actually win by creating something new, creating what we call a new category. So, Hummer is not a car, a truck, or an SUV. It's an all-terrain vehicle. If you want to buy an all-terrain vehicle, you need to buy a Hummer. Sub-Zero is not a refrigerator. It is the luxury built-in refrigeration system. You want one of these, you need to buy Sub-Zero. Gatorade, known as the sports fuel. This was just recently, I saw a commercial, and they called themselves the sports fuel company. Now, if you can ever get big enough to dominate an area, so they've been about drinks historically, right? Now it's about fuel. Now, fuel could encompass other things other than drinks, right? But if you can own the idea, we are the sports fuel company. In a sense, a new category. What is the most compelling benefit? It's the singular thought that makes the brand compelling to the target. Must clearly fulfill the promise, must be believable and true, and it's either tangible or it's emotional. I would say great brands have an emotional connection. It's good to have tangible benefits, but people compete on tangible benefits, functions, features, price, every day. You don't make a lot of money if you're actually competing on tangible benefits. It's usually based on what we call an inspired insight. Now, very few brands ever do this. Even in the world of Fortune 500 brands, very few of them actually do this and do it well. However, when they do it well, you notice. As an example, Home Depot. When it started, it was based on a very simple, inspired insight, and that was, there are millions of people who do not have the confidence to replace the wall socket or the ceiling fan. And if we can instill confidence in them, they will buy from us. So when they hired their first team, everybody's job is to instill confidence. Sure, you need to learn how to run the cash register, stock the shelves, and get things off the truck, decorate the place. But bottom line, everybody here, we need to understand ultimately, what are we trying to do? We're trying to instill confidence. They used to have somebody at the front door. They would ask you what you need help with. You might say, tile drop to the bathroom. They'd say, great, go see Bob at aisle 14. You go see Bob at aisle 14. Guess what? He's a handyman who works there part-time because he loves the place and he gets benefits. His job is to instill confidence, tell you how to do it. Then he would say, if you're not confident, come back Saturday. We're going to do it in a class together. Then, only then, did they turn on the advertising that was the public declaration of that, which they said, you can do it, we can help. Right? So everything was in sync. Based on an inspired insight, they knew what their benefit was, instilling confidence. Everybody on the team knows what you're supposed to be doing. You're inspired, you're coming to work every day, you know what you're doing. We've actually got handymen and handywomen who actually know answers to this stuff. We're a team. We have to instill confidence in that group. Did they win? One of the most successful companies of all time as far as how fast they grew. You might ask, well, are they still doing that? No. So what happened? Well, you know, over time you go public and there's lots of scrutiny from an earnings standpoint. At some point, after all that growth, you start to flatten out a little bit. It's only natural. But Wall Street says, hey, we need more earnings out of you. All right? So they decide to change leadership. New leadership comes in, their job is to make more money. What do? You look at the P&L statement. How do we make more money? Look at all the costs for benefits for part-time handyman. Why would we Why would we pay that? We don't need to pay that. Look at all the costs for training. This is ridiculous, the amount of cost that we're spending. Let's not do that. In the short term, they made more money. But guess what? They stopped instilling confidence. As a matter of fact, the Richards Group is their agency. And so for a period of time, what was happening is they were still saying, you can do it, we can help, but the truth is, you can do it, but we're not helping anymore. You know, the truth was, we used to help people, right? So they had this, you know, they had a grand crisis. So they had to start all over from what is their benefit, and it's based on price. That's a tangible benefit. New tagline, more saving, more doing, that's the power of the Home Depot. So they did have this confidence, now it's price. What happens when you compete on price? Well, your margins go down, right? Now, historically, they would never come up with a commercial paint on sale for $7.99. That would be the farthest thing that they would ever do. You know, it's always about an emotional connection between a father and a son. The father gets the confidence to build the son a tree house, and he builds it, and so it's just a happily ever after kind of emotional thing where the dad is the hero of the family, right? Now it's just paint on sale for $7.99. So that's an example of a brand who actually used to deliver on a very specific promise. They publicly declared it, and it worked incredibly well. So it used to be confidence, and now it's providing savings. All right. So at Olive Garden, under the umbrella of Garden, we have multiple restaurants. We found an inspired insight by accident. All right. So a lot of times businesses, you don't want to know all the answers, right? But occasionally you'll trip on something. We would do research on every commercial. So we're going to spend $500,000 on a 30-second commercial. Imagine that. All right, $500,000, and then another $10 million to actually put it on air for about 10 weeks. We spent a lot of money on it. So it better be right. So we would do research to make sure that it was hitting the right target audience and saying the right thing. Well, we had a bank of research on all of our prior commercials. One commercial scored better than the others. Serendipitously, it's like, hey, wow, this one scored better than the others. What is different about this? It's the first time this line was ever used. When you're here, you're family. Let's do some more research. Is there something about that? Yes, we find an inspired insight that there are millions of families, people who have a dysfunctional family. They don't get around the table like they used to anymore. And when Olive Garden said, when you're here, you're family, you know, there's a generally held belief that Italian families love each other, they get around the table. So it was believable and true. And so all of a sudden it clicked. So Garden decides, hey, we have an inspired insight. Let's build the entire company around the insight. Let's bring in the architects, let's redesign the building to be more like a Tuscan farmhouse. We're even going to have a 12-top table in there. In the restaurant business, a 12-top table, really? Most restaurants would never do that. But if you want to have a huge table for the huge family, so they feel like family, that's where it is. And that's why you'll see on Sunday afternoon still a large family standing outside the door. And they're wondering, why are they waiting so long? It's the place where that family can get together. Okay? Olive Garden makes them feel like family. So Red Lobster is another brand underneath Garden. So what's the inspired insight? If you ask this question, how craveable is the steak, chicken, turkey, lobster, crab, shrimp, or fish? The lobster, crab, and shrimp are more than twice as craveable as any other food protein. So we discovered when we show slow motion food photography of the slow motion butter dunked lobster, right? With the splashing butter towards the camera, or the sizzling shrimp, right? Falling, steam, crab, steam, lemon squeeze. Stop. Ignite this visceral craving within people in there. Honey, I just have a craving for seafood. Even though that experience was awful, but I still had somehow that it's actually magical. Has this visceral connection within people. So much so that we eliminated all actors from our commercials. It's like, why are we paying actors? It doesn't matter. We're wasting our money on actors. We just need food. We need a hand model, right? That's all. For 8 years, we had no people in our ads. Why? It didn't matter. So here you have two brands. They're both restaurants. They have a different inspired insight, different delivery. So benefit to Red Lobster, it satisfies your cravings for seafood. Hummer, what's the benefit? It goes where no other vehicle can go. So these affluent guys wanting to express themselves, they just love the feeling that they can take this thing anywhere they want it to go. So the entire brand promise, let's just say for Hummer, to affluent men seeking unique experiences as a means of self-expression, Hummer's the all-terrain vehicle that goes where no other vehicle can go. So yes, we now have an entire brand promise that has our target audience, who are we going to go after? Next, our category, what are we? The third part is our most compelling benefit. If we can instill that in all of our people, we're light years ahead of competitors who are spending their money on a logo. Right? Next, the brand personality. It's a short list of distinct characteristics that define the brand. Just like that, people have personalities, and some people you like, some you don't. Right? Some personality traits you like, some you don't. We fill in the blank. Our customers love us because we are blank, 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 and blank. Let's just say that there were 10 people up here, and they all made the same verbal promise to you. You're a business owner, and you have to choose one of these businesses. They all say the same thing. I ask you to choose one of them. Well, you actually make a choice, and I ask you, well, why did you choose this person? You might say, I just like it when they said it. You know, there's this connection, I don't know, this feeling that I like them. I don't know, I like them better the way they said it, right? Or maybe the way they presented themselves. I just like them better. Right? Great brands are like that. Because a lot of people are selling the same thing. The question is, why do people like you? What's your personality? It adds depth, dimension, and character to the brand. And yes, it helps to determine the look and the feel of all your communications. And yes, if you've ever had the pleasure of designing a new website, right? How fun is that? Get the entire team together and you'll take a look at a sample and everybody immediately agrees, right? Oh, we love it. Now, usually it's like one person likes red, one likes green, one likes blue, and you're arguing over the fonts and what it looks like, what kind of pictures. It usually is personal opinion. If you've not gone through a process, right, that helps you make the decision. The way to make the decision is to know who your target is, know what your personality is, why they love us, and we need to make sure our website, our brochures, our videos, our events, everything lines up perfectly with our brand personality. So that's how we evaluate whether or not this website looks right or not. You all have the same decision-making filter. So as examples, Hummer is sophisticated, rugged, powerful, and yes, irreverent. When they got the vehicle from the armed services, it was definitely rugged and powerful, but it was not sophisticated. So they had to put some leather seats in, some new stereo equipment, rocket launchers, everything you need to put in this thing to actually make these guys love it, right? But also there's a little irreverent, these guys are rebel, right? Somehow the brand itself needs to be a little rebellious. Next, Sub-Zero, refined, passionate, creative, and yes, enlightened. I can almost hear the symphony orchestra play as she opens up the refrigerator door. Right? And it's a whole different feel than Hummer. Okay? Different personality is a different target audience. Chick-fil-A, caring, genuine and clean cut, yet unexpectedly fun. Kind of defines the people that work there as well as the gal campaign. Right? Oh yes, the screen is blank. The doors are locked. This is important because, yes. Now, everything I told you was good. It was really good. However, in the next few moments, we're going to reveal something. That if you get this, understand it, embrace it, bring it to life, your brand will be light years ahead of anybody else. If you can understand this concept, and that is, The highest purpose of a brand is to affirm people for who they are, what they believe, and what they aspire to become. If you could do business this way, this is when they want to tattoo your logo on their body. This is when they want to tattoo your logo on their body because for some reason, what you are doing reflects well on them. They get goosebumps. I love hanging out with you. I love your product versus anybody else. So much so, I want to tattoo your logo. How do we do this? All right. In a sense, who are Raving fans? What is their identity? Okay. What is the Raving fan identity? It answers the question, why do my fans love themselves? Everybody will always make decisions in your own personal self-interest. We all do that. We always will. They love themselves. If we can understand, why do they love themselves? What makes them proud to be associated with us? What does our brand say about them? If they have our bumper sticker on their car, if they're wearing our hat, what does it say about them? It's like a club. Great brands are like clubs. You're either in or out. Harley Davidson. I had a friend who bought a Yamaha and he wanted to ride with his buddy who had a Harley Davidson. He would not allow. The Harley Davidson guy said, no way. You're not riding with me. No. We're not riding with you. You're either in the club or out. Apple's kind of that way. Nike's kind of that way. Ah, yes. Let's pretend there's a guy named John who loves Starbucks. On his way to the office, John stops at Starbucks. It's his favorite cup of coffee. And he orders it with the Starbucks language, right? You can only order it a certain way. You can't use the same language at Dunkin' Donuts or 7-Eleven. That doesn't work, right? I remember the first time I was there, I wanted the tall one, right? So I ordered a tall, and I didn't get the tall one. I was like, wait, I wanted the big one. Tall doesn't mean tall. You have to learn the language, right? So this guy, John, gets his favorite cup of coffee. He drives to the office, comes in, and there happens to be a little gathering in the break room. His 25 colleagues are milling around, getting ready to cut the birthday cake, right? So let's just say that John is getting ready to walk in the door. Let's just say I can stop time for a second. I remove the coffee cup from his hand. I pour the Starbucks coffee into a 7-Eleven cup. And I resume time. Now John's getting ready to walk in. He notices a little different texture on the cup. Then he notices there's a different logo. Now, it is the same coffee. It is just a different cup. The question is he going to walk in and have the same casual conversation? Is he thinking the same thoughts? Is he feeling the same feeling? And I would say for the average Starbucks consumer, a Starbucks fan, there's a little sweat forming on the brow. It's not feeling right. The universe has shifted. Something isn't completely right. He's going to drink it really fast. Or is he going to throw it away or maybe exert the emotional energy to possibly hide the label on the cup when he's walking around? No, nobody else is paying attention. This is all internal stuff, right? Now, there's a whole other group of people who would never pay $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee. And if I put a Starbucks cup in their hand and I forced them to walk around, guess what? They would walk around apologizing. I didn't buy it. I found the cup. The boss bought it. It was on the expensive. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. We know this is true. So what's going on here? It's almost as if this logo has a wire attached to a blinking billboard, and it says something about me. If I'm a Starbucks fan, that's a Starbucks logo. It says something about me that I like, and it creates a certain feeling. Now, I don't really know what it says. I just know how I feel, right? And all I know is when that changes from Starbucks to 7-Eleven, all of a sudden, I know I don't feel the same anymore, right? We all know this is true. So, blinking billboard. So if we know who they are, the Raving fan identity of who these people are, and we do business in such a way that it says something about them that they like, that they feel good, that's really the secret. Okay? So let's pretend that there are two Hummer drivers who pull up to a stoplight, and there's a blinking billboard on top of each Hummer, and it says something. They read it and they go, yes. And they have their lighters and flick it and say, yes, this is us. It says, I'm a thrill seeker who finds exhilaration and power, and enjoy breaking new ground. I am secure enough not to need to prove myself or justify my decision. Basically, I don't care. That's us, yes. Now, if a Prius owner drives up, there's a different, billboard, right? I do care about the environment. It's a whole different group of people. All right. Uncle Matt's Organic, we have these two highly educated soccer moms with discretionary income who have their Uncle Matt's, their carts filled with Uncle Matt's orange juice. There's blinking billboard above their head. They're getting ready to check out. What does it say about them? It says, I'm smart, savvy, and love simplicity. I invest in real organic food that is pure, nutritious, and full of flavor. It's the way nature. Uncle Matt's. Okay. So, how did the Richards group do this in a Super Bowl ad? I'm going to play an ad from a Super Bowl a couple years ago. And the thought was, how do we affirm Ram truck drivers for who they are, what they believe, and what they aspire to become?
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die and dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shake an axe handle, draw a persimmon sprout, shield a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon and then paint him from tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed bullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to split the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who would plow deep and straight and not cut corners, somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and break and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk, somebody who would bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
Purpose, affirm Ram truck drivers for who they are, what they believe, and what they aspire to become. Did it work? Absolutely. I think even some Ford drivers are thinking, man, that's me. Once we do this, then we can actually look at our websites and our merchandising, our packaging, promotions, on all of the things. You have to make decisions about all this stuff, right? So how do you make those decisions? Do you have a process? Do you have a decision-making filter? If you go through this process and we answer all those questions, it's a lot easier to make decisions about these things, but it's also incredibly important that they actually say the same thing. So it's all consistent. The most important thing in brand strategy is to be consistent every time, every way, because that builds confidence over time. So, in the end, a contagious brand is one that naturally grows without a strong need for advertising. And that's what I'm all about. So, I don't know that we have time for questions. I talked too much, but we'll kind of play it by ear here. A few questions.
And this is probably not a short answer, but your business and our business are very much parallel in that we're both in the creative idea business.
Yep.
Your examples are product oriented. Secondly, characteristic is we're a business-to-business business. How have, in your business, how have you applied your principles to your business, the creative business?
You know, I didn't pay him to say that. That's my favorite question. It is my favorite question because
Great minds think.
it's like, here you go. Hopefully I can. My most satisfied clients are business-to-business clients. And why is that? It's because most business-to-business CEOs define a brand as a logo. They don't understand they don't even think about this. They're not exposed to the idea. It's not in their strategy. We're a business to business. We don't do advertising. We don't do. But however, if your team, as a business to business team, is infected with this idea, and the heart of every person on the team is engaged in a certain way, then they're going to bring something special every day. All right? If you go through a process like this. And so how have I applied it? The first thing is to expose the entire group of folks to this idea. I start out by making sure that they can count the number of F's in a sentence. When they can't do that, they're befuddled. It's like, of course I can count. No. You assume that people see the same thing. No, they don't. First of all, they have to be awakened to a new idea that maybe we can see it differently. And maybe there really is 9. Because I would say that most, in the F analogy, most business-to-business CEOs see 5. Because branding isn't even on their radar. They're not paying attention. But I will say that if the entire team on the business-to-business group gets this, and so in the end you understand all these concepts, and that every time that I showed you a video. Now, most of my clients don't have a video. Some of them do, some of them don't, right? But the video actually usually is an inspiring video for the team. It's not necessarily a video for the outside world. It's the video for the team to say, this is who we are, this is why we exist, and this is why we're going to do something special today. So, does that answer your question at all? I mean,
Speak to the intentional aspect, trying to brand intangibles, creativity.
I'm doing it now. I'm selling air.
That means this marketing strategy.
This is my marketing strategy. I have no other strategy.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is.
Jim.
I have no other. This is how I get clients. It's usually I do work for a client and they talk to somebody else. It's been 100% word of mouth. Or epiphanies. I try to create epiphanies. And when your mind is opened up to a new idea, you can't go backwards. So one of my personality traits that I want people to say is that I would shift their paradigm. So every one of these slides that I created, I tried to make sure that you stayed, not only did you stay awake, but hopefully there was something, I never thought about it that way. So my standard in my head is, I want to see the light bulbs go off in as many slides as possible. And if that can happen, then we're going to have a good conversation. But the truth is, that's just the beginning. If we can actually showcase this in my world, what would it be like if your team had the same light bulbs go off? So all of a sudden they're not seeing 5 anymore, they're seeing 9. All of a sudden, the intangible is your people are coming to work and they see it differently. They're agreeing. The fact that they agree. But not only do they agree, if we get back to why I exist, to create inspirational alignment, organizational conviction, we're going to lock arms on our highest compelling truth. Now that's air. That's all air. But the truth is, it's good. It really is good. It's refreshing air that feels really good and can bring life into a group of people that come do something special.
I'll say this, as far as your marketing strategy, part of the purpose of marketing strategy is to create an appetite in the prospect.
Yeah.
You've done that with your
Well, thank you. Now, I've done this presentation probably 300 times, so I've worked on every line. But I've been doing it for a while. But I love to help other people do the same thing for their business, right? So their clients have epiphanies. So, yes?
A lot of you are focused on consumer brands, right? And
Now, the reason why in this presentation I showed you the brands is because you get it. I could show you 100 business-to-business brands, but you go, I never heard of that brand, because you're not in their target. And if you're not in their target, then you don't get it at all. And I would have to explain.
Is it much harder though to create that business-to-business sort of brand awareness and because most of us are smaller business that deal in smaller local areas.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
You know, it's time for the next slide. It really is. Because a lot of business folks say, look, I don't have any money for marketing. I don't have any money for brand. And so the biggest challenge I have is they've never seen somebody like me. They've never had a budget for somebody like me. So it's not like they can take it from somebody else and give it to me. However, what if you viewed your payroll budget as your marketing budget? You're paying people to come to work every day. They're either delivering on a promise or they're spinning wheels. Right? You're the CEO. You're paying these people every day. The question is, are they actually bringing it? Are they actually delivering a promise so that we're building some kind of equity over time that even if that person left, the next person is still bringing it? Right? For business to business, this is the secret. Right? You don't have budget to do that. That's where we need to breathe life into the people to make sure that they are bringing. So, great question. Hopefully that answers it. Because most of my work is about culture. It's not about, if you want an agency that creates communication, I can help bring that to the table, but that's not what I do. My vision, inspiring brands to what? Live. Live your highest promise. So to do that, it has to be kind of like this. We have to talk about this stuff to make sure that your team gets it and the light bulbs go off, but once they go off, you don't go back. Is that all right?
Excellent. All right.